residents. So please join us in welcoming a hero from our community, for our community, and a leader who we can be proud to call one of our own, and the mayor of our 2019 conference host city, Mayor Jane Castor. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Thank you so much for taking time out of what I know is your busy schedule to be here with us today.
How could I miss it? This is so exciting.
I will say you and your wife, Anna, were instrumental in bringing this conference here.
Good.
It's been, I think, almost 3 years since we first cited the city, and they brought out the big shots.
Yes.
And they made it happen. So
yeah, it was a tough sell. So we were, we won, which was absolutely wonderful. But it was a hard-fought battle to get everyone here, and we couldn't be more excited to have you here in our wonderful city.
You know, I'd said it was probably one of the best site visits we'd ever done. Good. So to the CVB and the folks that put on that site visit, congratulations.
All right.
Well,
why don't we have them stand up? Everybody saw Ashley over. I know Ashley was a big part of it as well.
Bring those lights up a little bit.
Yes.
If you were a part of the site visit, you're a part of this conference here locally.
Stand up, Anna, you were part of it.
Stand up.
There you go, Justin, Ashley, all right. Yes. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Let's start out maybe by having you tell us just a little bit about yourself. I referenced some of the highlights in your intro, but there's nothing like hearing it from you yourself.
Oh boy. Okay, everybody, relax, get comfortable. This will take about an hour or so. Actually, I was born and raised here in Tampa, and one of 5 kids. And I tell people that by virtue of being like 6 foot tall in the 2nd grade and growing up around mostly boys, I was a pretty good athlete. And so, someone took a chance on me when I was a skinny 17-year-old kid and gave me a full athletic scholarship to the University of Tampa. And that was something that really changed my life. My family, certainly supported education, but we didn't have the money for college. And that was an opportunity of a lifetime. And at that point, I made a promise that I would spend my life giving back to young people and opening that door. As I have found, most young people have the ability and the motivation, they just need an opportunity. And so I went into law enforcement to the Tampa Police Department, which was wonderful. I had no idea what I was getting into, but in 31 years, there was never a day I didn't want to go to work. I absolutely loved what I was doing. And as you stated, I spent the last 6 years as the chief of police. And one of, a friend of mine who's a columnist, she called me when I was still the chief of police, and she said, there's a lot of talk about the next mayor, and your name keeps coming up. What do you think about that? And I said, well, frankly, it kind of makes me think the drug problem in our city is worse than I anticipated. I'm like, I'm a cop. What would I know about being a mayor? But really, it was in conversations with my predecessor and then the mayor that appointed me as the chief of police, and those conversations with my family, Anna and our boys and others in the community, that I threw my hat in the ring. And boy, what a ring that is. Anybody that's ever been involved in politics. Somebody said, what's the difference between law enforcement and politics? And I said, law enforcement, the truth matters. I'm like, but anyway.
I think there's a little of that going on.
Yeah, a little bit of that going on right now. But anyway, so here I am.
Well, you brought up Anna. Anna, your lovely wife, is here, and we're excited to have her with us today as well.
Yes.
Maybe let's talk a little bit about that race. And what was it like running for mayor for one of the largest cities in Florida as an out candidate with a wife? How did the press cover it? Was it different? Did you feel there was some difference in the way that they would interact with you in your campaign?
Well, there was myself and 6 other men in the race. I shouldn't say other men, 6 men in the race, and it was actually very very interesting because the day after the election, there was a great deal of national news coverage, and the first question that everybody asked was like, "Oh my gosh, how did they cover the gay issue? How did that work?" And I said, it never came up once. And so then there was sort of crickets, it was like radio silence. And nationally, everybody was very surprised that it didn't play an issue in the race, and it really never came up. And I believe that that's a commentary on our city and how wonderful Tampa is and how inclusive we are. This is a city that was built on diversity, and we celebrate our diversity on a daily basis. And the fact, too, that everybody pretty much had 31 years to test drive me, as a police officer, they knew what they were getting. And they were more focused on the skill that I brought, the experience and the ability to do the job was what mattered to the voters of Tampa. And so that's why I'm proud of this city.
So of course I have to ask, the day after the election, did you get a call from the president?
Oh gosh, I must have missed that one.
My guess is you might have turned your phone off.
Yeah, I might have gone to voicemail or something. I did get calls from mayors and supporters from all over the United States. And one thing I can tell you is that the mayors in this country get things done. And it's a very inclusive group, regardless of the politics. And it's a group that I'm very proud to be a part of, because as you'll find, mayors get things done in their cities, and I'm very excited to get started on getting things done.
Right. Let's maybe talk a little bit about your plans for the city. Mm-hmm. What are your main focuses, your priorities, and is everything that you're looking to do inclusive, or do you look at it through a lens of ensuring that marginalized communities are also a part of those plans?
Right. That's something that, and again, that goes back to, my history as a police officer, serving our community and knowing every inch of the city and knowing the neighborhoods and who lives there and what the needs are. And that it's just always been a part of the fabric of who I am, is inclusion and ensuring that everyone in our community is lifted up. Our city is if you've gone around, and I encourage everybody to go around the city of Tampa. As the former police chief, I've passed an ordinance that there's a new security check. When you go through the airport, you'll be shaken down for the last penny that you have. So you have to make sure that you spend everything you have here in Tampa to support our economy. And I say thank you ahead of time. I appreciate that very much. But as you go around, you'll see that we're going to have to rename the city bird the crane. We've got so much development going on in our city, and the city is going to change. I'm 59 years old, born and raised here, and it's going to change more in the next 10 years than it has in my entire life. And we have one opportunity to create that city that we all want. We want to live and work in, and the city we want to pass off to the next generation. And so everyone in our city needs to be a part, to share in that success and be a part of lifting this city up. And, I just can't wait to get started.
Yeah, I think the roosters in Ybor City might argue with the crane being the new bird. But
it was interesting when I had HRC, Equality Florida, a number of LGBT, Justin Janeri was there as well from Tampa Bay Diversity, that endorsed my candidacy, and we did it in Ybor City. And so as the news cameras are filming this, the roosters are in the background crowing, and I said, I even have the support of the Ybor Roosters. I mean, really, check. So.
Well, that's fantastic. So 59.
Yes.
The current occupant of the White House is in his mid-70s. Front runner for the Democratic nomination is in his mid to late 70s. So I think there's still time for maybe 2 terms as mayor. And is there something else, or is that too early to tell?
No. It's, no. It was very interesting as the chief of police, when I retired, a lot of people said, well, where are you going to go next? I'm like, what are you talking about? I would never leave Tampa, ever. This is the greatest city in the United States, and this is my home, and this is where I'm going to stay. So no political future past the next 8 years.
That was pretty definitive, so
Yeah.
we'll move on to the next question.
I guess I'm supposed to leave that open for conversation, right?
I don't know. To your earlier point, they'll
That's
say
right.
I'm not running, and then they do.
Yeah,
so
true.
You've got leeway. Let's talk a little bit about your experiences as police chief and what's been going on. It's, I think, just over the 3rd anniversary of Pulse. We've had the unfortunate happenings over the last couple of weeks. How do you reflect on that, having been on the law enforcement side, and what that is doing to our country? What are your thoughts there? And then what sort of policy proposals do you have to combat gun violence and the like?
Well, that could be the rest of our time up here. One, I was on the after action, the team that did the after action for the Pulse nightclub, and that if I always say that if the parents of the kindergartners who were shot, if they, and I'm not saying as a parent that I would have done this, had released the autopsy photos of the kids, that there may have been a ban on assault rifles in our country a lot sooner than hopefully is going to come in the near future. But it's just something that we have to come to our senses as far as sensible firearms regulation. The vast majority of Americans agree with it. I saw on television an individual that said that he needed his assault rifle to protect his family and his home, and my response was, where the hell do you live? Because it's not in my country.
That's right.
And so we just need to do some sensible, reasonable firearms regulations in our nation that everyone, right, that everyone can. Everyone can understand. I'm in a mayor's cohort, Bloomberg, Harvard Mayor's Initiative, and there were 41 mayors from around the world participate in this. It's a year-long process, and 19 were women. Whoop whoop. But and the lesbian angle was there as well, with the mayor from Chicago, the mayor from Madison, Wisconsin, and myself. So that was nice. Yes. But anyway, there were a couple of female mayors from Australia and Canada as well that, they just look at us like, what's wrong with your country? And really, I mean that in the most serious sense, that, that we can't get a handle on this. And then with the anger right now and the division that we see coming from our national leaders is it's just unconscionable. And then to say that you have no hand in what happened in El Paso. We're better than that as a country. We were built on immigration, and we should put our time, our energy, and our finances in crafting a path to legal immigration, as opposed to doing what's happening right now in our country. And so Nan Whalen was one of the mayors in our mayor's cohort up in New York City. And so after the shooting in her city of Dayton, I sent her a text and said, I'm thinking about you if you need anything at all. And she was like, anything you can offer. And unfortunately, I had way too much to offer, because I've been in these instances of mass shootings, gone through all of the active shooter training and all of the things that we can do as a country to try to mitigate these instances of violence. But I don't think that the future right now, unless we take some bold, actionable steps, that things are going to change, and we're just going to become more and more anesthetized to these shooting incidents.
Yeah, I want to go back to this, but you brought something up it's somewhat in jest, but I think very real about our standing in the world. You know, we have people out in the audience from 23 countries. We have affiliate chambers in 15 countries, from the tip of South America to India to South Africa. And we worry about that.
Yes.
What are mayors doing? Because you all have had to step in. What are mayors doing? What do you specifically want to say to the rest of the world about Tampa being open for business?
Well, Tampa's definitely open for business, and we are the third safest city our size in the nation. We've worked very hard at that, reduced crime by over 70% in our city over the last 12 years. I'm very, very proud of that. But you know, when you talk about business, those are things, if you think about moving your business or your family or just individually into a city, you're gonna look at those things, that how safe is this city? You know, what's the educational system? What's transportation? What do those things look like? So when you say you're open for business, it's more than getting permits or bringing businesses to your city. You have to provide a certain quality of life. You have to provide those amenities that people are looking for, while you're also making it easier to do business in your city. And you have to be seen as a very, very inclusive city that's welcoming to everyone. The word that I hear most often to describe our city is friendly. Everybody here is very, very friendly. So it's something that we haven't had to work hard at, but just as you know, you work on relationships from day to day, you have to ensure that you're embracing that diversity and making sure that everyone feels welcome. And to the rest of those visitors from around the world, I would say that hopefully in the near future that we will as a country come to our senses and do something about the violence that we see, the incidents of these mass shootings that have proliferated throughout our country.
You know, I have to agree with you on the friendliness of this city. I live in Washington, D.C. I commented to someone on the way over to the convention center today, cars stopped and let you use the crosswalk. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? You know, they speed up when you get in the crosswalk in Washington. So,
That's great.
Tell us a little bit about your Small Business Bridges program and how that's going to impact diverse communities.
Well, one of my commitments was to bring city government out into the community. Some of you, we just had a sort of an all-hands staff meeting the other day, and there's a commercial where there's these older ladies and they're talking about Facebook, and they're talking about a wall, and this woman has all these pictures up on her wall, and she's like, I'm just gonna unfriend you, and pulls somebody's picture off the wall. And one of the older women are like, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. And so that's what I said, our response so often to people when they ask a question about city government is, that's not how it works. And I said, that's not an appropriate response. We need to tell people how things work and make government understandable. City government exists to serve the citizens, to serve our community. And so one of the programs that we put together was Bridges to Business, and we're having it in a different neighborhood every month all the way through October. And we started over in the East Tampa community. And what that program does is to help small businesses in whatever way that they need. We had a number of mentors there. So if they needed assistance with marketing, if they needed financial assistance, whatever was needed, we provided that mentorship. And then at the same time, we walked everyone through the city's vendor process, how to sign up to become a city vendor and to have access to city contracts. And we started out, we were gonna limit it to 30 individuals. Then we raised it up to 40 businesses and individuals, and then to 50. We ended up with over 100 people coming that first event. We're having the second one August 24th. And so again, just reaching out to the small businesses are the backbone of any city. And so we want to, and we want to make sure that while we're taking advantage of opportunities from throughout the nation and the world and bringing large corporations here in development, we have to focus on local businesses, on homegrown. And I'm a true believer that, if you're born and raised, you got more skin in the game. And so we focus on our small businesses here in Tampa, and we're going to continue to ramp that up throughout my administration.
You opened the door, so
yes,
I'm gonna walk through it. All right.
All right.
We're talking about city contracts.
Yes.
And as you know, NGLCC and our affiliate partners around the country have been working diligently to open up public sector supply chains for LGBT companies. The LA mayor just signed an executive order a few weeks ago, making it the largest city in the country. Your neighbor, Buddy Dyer, just signed this a few months ago down in Orlando. Can you share maybe your plans of what you may be doing around inclusion of LGBT businesses in the city of Tampa?
Well, funny you should bring that up. Is there someone that can bring something out? We have a new executive order from the city of Tampa. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So we have a new executive order that includes LGBT community in our small businesses, and any business that wants to participate can be certified through yours truly, through NGLCC. And Justin Gennari will take care of that with the Tampa Bay Diversity, ensuring that businesses are certified and therefore eligible to take part in any city contracts that are eligible.
All right. I think that deserves one of these.
There you go. Now that's yours.
Thank you.
Actually, Justin's, but you can take it too.
Yeah, this probably will end up in my bag to go back to
And there
Washington.
you go. All right.
You never want to surprise the mayor because she'll surprise back. Let's maybe do a little bit of rapid fire. Maybe just sort of the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Inclusion.
City of Tampa.
Business development.
Small from the ground up. That's not one word.
That's all right.
Okay,
Phrases.
good.
Phrases.
Phrase.
Word or a phrase. Small businesses.
My family. That's where I came from, small business.
Family.
Family is everyone. It's my family, my partner Anna, and our boys, the extended family here in the LGBT community. Quite often we have been each other's family, and I think that's one of the things that really makes our community so special, is that we've had to rely on each other throughout our lives, especially the older you are. I think that it's getting so much better with the younger generation with acceptance, but I think that that's one of the things that makes the LGBT community so important.
Millennials.
Figuring them out.
Donald.
It's their world. We got to figure them out.
That's right. That's right. Donald Trump.
Hopefully, come 2020, history.
Tell me what you've found to be the most surprising thing, the thing you've enjoyed most since taking over as mayor.
The thing that I've enjoyed the most is what I enjoyed with as being a police officer, is the ability to get out with the community, one-on-one, and just meet people and hear their stories. It just never, ever, ever ceases to fascinate me. And just the differences and the perceptions and where people came from and how they got to where they're at. I try to never miss an opportunity to hear somebody's story. You know, why are you where you're at right now? And it's usually something that is fascinating when you take the time to listen to somebody and hear their story. And that's, now I can do that again as mayor and not get charged with stalking in Publix or, you know, I've got a reason. But yeah, that's been the best part, is getting back to that.
What's been maybe the most challenging, or something that maybe you didn't have in the equation when you started this crazy ride?
I would have to say that the politics of it, really, that, and I'm not talking just about my position as mayor. I mean, everything's been great, but, you know, just in the bigger picture is that I think we'd have an easier go of it if everybody just focused on what was best for the community, you know, for our city, for our state, for our country, and focused on working together to accomplish the goals that are in the best interests of our citizens.
It's a crazy thought, isn't it?
Yeah,
working together, putting people first.
I know.
You know, we really appreciate the work that you do and the support that you have given. It's been very visible. And I don't know if you've seen the Tampa Gay magazine, and I should have brought it up here, but they're here at conference. You know, you and Anna just put it out there like any other
Right.
first couple would.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about having the same-sex first couple.
Yeah, well, that's something that you just show people, they get the opportunity. And that's one of the things I love about the millennials. So my experience in the police department, coming on in 1984, it was okay on the police department to be a lesbian. I had a sergeant come up to me one time I was a patrol officer, and he said, "Where do I get some of y'all?" I said, "I know." I said, "Well, you can't go to Walmart and pick us off the shelf, that's for sure." But, you know, now, and the men, the gay male officers had to stay in the closet. And now it doesn't matter. You know, everybody's accepted on their ability to do the job. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about the millennials is that, you know, that acceptance. And I think that that is so important. And that's been the way that, you know, Anna and I have just lived our lives out in the community. And I'm not naive enough to think that there aren't detractors out there, but, you know, they keep it to themselves. And the vast majority of our community is very, very accepting of it. And I'll tell a quick story. I have a very good friend, a police officer, and he's a pastor as well. And so he has a group of pastors, and they were talking, and he said, "Well, I'm supporting Jane Castor." And one of the pastors said, "Well, you know she's gay." And he said, "Well, you don't have to date her." And the pastor said, "Well, yeah, I guess that's right." So, you know, just boiling it down to the simplest thing like that, like really what is the point of you know, this division and this anger and this hatred? If you just get to know people for who they are, then all of those barriers and all of those borders fall by the wayside, and you find out that your similarities far outweigh your differences. And I think that's the importance, and that's what we all need to be trying to move towards, is to get to that point where you accept everyone for, you know, for their character, their ability, their skill, what they bring to the table. I think that's very important.
You know, we often talk about people should be more concerned what we do from 9 to 5 than 5 to 9, right?
Right.
And people think, you know, if you're LGBT, life's just a big party.
Right.
But they forget that we have businesses, we have to meet payroll, you know, we pay taxes, we pave roads, we run cities.
Yes.
We're a part of the small business engine that makes the economy run.
Amen. And we're boring as heck. If you follow me, I said nobody'd ever follow me. Right, Anna? You talk about 10 o'clock at night and I am out like a light.
Final question, because I think we have a lot of people in the audience that are hungry to help make a change, whether that's running for office, whether it's getting appointed to a board or a commission, whether it's just raising hell at the city council meeting.
Right.
What advice do you have for folks that might get them jazzed up and excited and active? Because I think a lot of us are feeling beat down and defeatist about the public discourse right now. And if we allow that to happen, we're going to get steamrolled again.
We are.
So what advice do you have?
Amen. Well, just get mad as hell. Don't let it turn into complacency. Get out and vote. It's just a shame. In our city, it was 33% of registered voters actually voted. I mean, that's crazy. You cannot make a difference. And it just amazes me when people say I don't vote because it doesn't make a difference. People have died for the right to vote. People have died for the right to vote. And people can't make the time to go and do it. So that's first and foremost. And second, what I ask everybody, it's funny, I talk to college classes and I'll say, okay, time for one more question. Oh, how can you make a difference in your community? Of course, they never ask, but I always ask it for them. But volunteering and getting involved, that is the best way to make a difference. And when you volunteer, you'll always get more than you give. And regardless of what it is, if it's in being a big brother, big sister, I'm a big sister. I was matched with my little sister when she was in the 3rd grade, and she's 26 now. And that was a question they had to ask her mother. Is it okay? Her big sister is gay. Is that okay? And her mother just kind of looked at him like, what difference does that make? But, just going and making a difference in a young child's life, or volunteering in a campaign and making a difference in your community, or something environmental. We all have to, it's our responsibility to make a difference. So my advice would be we all need to stop complaining and go out and affect positive change in our community. Think what this room could do. Just think about it.
I think that was the most eloquent delivery of if you don't vote, don't bitch I've ever heard.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Mayor Castor, for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
And for everything you've done to help bring this conference to Tampa. And the city has been absolutely remarkable. You have made our day, our week, our conference with this. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you to your lovely wife, Anna. And just thank you for everything that you represent. Can we give a big hand to Mayor Castor?
Thank you all.